Okay, good morning everybody, and Shabbat Shalom, Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Friday morning. As we are Erev Tisha B'Av, we have Tisha B'Av upon us tomorrow night, Saturday night, Motzei Shabbat. And there are a few halachot I would like to speak about just for a couple of minutes before we begin the class today. First of all, we know that usually Erev Tisha B'Av, when we get ready, there's a seudah called a seudah mafseket. That's the meal right before the fast. Tisha B'Av is a sad day. It's a day of mourning. So the meal that we have right before is usually a very modest meal. We're only allowed to have one dish, and we're not allowed to have any meat or wine in that meal. However, this year that meal is going to be on Shabbat. That meal is going to be tomorrow afternoon. When we come, we're going to pray Minha early tomorrow. We're going to come home and we're going to start eating our meal, whatever time you would like. The fast begins at around, just check your local times, at around 8:20. That's when sunset is. So we have to, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's around that time. So at 8:20 we need to stop eating. So we're going to start our meals at 7:30 or 7, whatever you like. So we're going to go to shul, we're going to pray Minha Gedolah, and we're going to continue we're going to come home, enjoy, and then we have the meal. This seudah, you can have meat, you can have wine, you can eat whatever you like. You can have as many dishes as possible, dessert and everything. Finish by 8:20, and then 8:20 we look how important Shabbat is. Look how important Shabbat is. Even if it was Tisha B'Av, we would be eating and enjoying and smiling. Okay? Someone's writing over here 8:15, 8:16, whatever is your local synagogue's times. And then we have to stop eating. Okay, make sure you brush your teeth and everything before we stop eating. However, we're still in Shabbat till around 9 o'clock. So we're not allowed to drive, we're not allowed to do any electricity, and we're also not allowed to change into our Yom Kippur shoes, our Tisha B'Av shoes. So we're in this gray zone that we can't eat, but we're still in Shabbat, so we don't mourn either. We don't take off our leather shoes. We don't sit on the floor yet. Okay? Of course, the day itself has the 5 inuim, the 5 prohibited actions: eating, drinking, washing, intimacy, and lotion. Okay? These are applicable to everybody. Of course, if somebody's not feeling well, if somebody's elderly, they feel they can't fast, then speak to your rabbi, of course, and I'm sure the rabbi will do what's best for you and guide you through it. Okay, I think that's it. Also, please prepare clothing for Tisha B'Av. One is not allowed to wear freshly laundered clothing on the day. That includes Saturday night and Sunday. So if you're going to change out of your Shabbat clothes on Saturday night and you're going to get comfortable, you have to make sure that it's clothing that you already wore. It can't be freshly laundered. So a great idea would be today to just wear something for an hour, prepare it, take it off. Later on today, do it again if you need 2 pairs of clothing. Okay, this does not apply to undergarments. Undergarments, there is no issue. But actual clothing is something that we should prepare beforehand. If one forgot to prepare, then they're allowed to prepare. It's tricky because on Shabbat you can't really prepare for the weekday. So there's a tactic or a maneuver to be able to prepare on Shabbat for clothing for the fast. What one would need to do is basically when you wake up on your Shabbat morning, you would wear something that you would want to wear the next day. You would wear it again for an hour. It looks like you're changing into clothing. Then you would get out of them and then you would go to shul and you would wear different clothes. And you would come back home and again take a nap, and when you wake up from your nap you would wear a different piece of clothing. So this is a good way to prepare. Again, it doesn't look like I'm doing it. It just looks like I woke up and I'm putting something on. Okay? So if there are any more questions, you could just write them down in the chat if I'm forgetting anything. But in the meantime, let's begin our class. There is a very fascinating midrash. The midrash says, the pasuk says, Vehema ke'adam avru berit. And they, like Adam, transgressed the covenant. The pasuk is in Hosea, and it's the Navi is saying that they transgressed like Adam. And the Midrash makes a comparison between Adam Harishon and the Galut, the exile that we are in. Take a look at the Midrash. It's a Midrash that we've quoted in the past, but it's always beautiful to see how this Midrash, one Midrash, can be understood in so many different ways. The Midrash compares and says, take a look, Adam was placed in paradise. The Jews were placed in Israel. Adam was given a commandment. The Jews were given commandments. Adam transgressed. The Jews transgressed. Adam was kicked out, and the Jews were kicked out. And the Midrash doesn't end here. The Midrash then continues and says, and when the Jews were kicked out, they said, Echa. And when Adam was kicked out, God said, Ayeka. Beautiful, beautiful Midrash that really can be understood in so many ways. But what we want to just try to understand today is, again, another idea. What's the connection between Adam? What's the connection between the Jewish people? And honestly, it's not the same word. Eicha and Ayeka. Eicha means how. Ayeka means where are you? They're not the same word. They're spelled the same, but it's not the same. So how could the Midrash, compare these two words when they don't really mean the same thing? Something else that's very interesting, we look in Megillat Eicha. If you have one, you could open it up. You could access it online. And we know that the Megillah goes al derech aleph bet. It goes in the order of the alphabet. So if you open up to the Megillah, it begins with the letter Aleph. The first pasuk is Aleph, Echa. Second pasuk, Bacho, Bet. The third pasuk, Galeta, Gimal, Darke, Daled. See, right? Hayu, Hey, etc. The whole thing, Aleph, Bet, all the way till Tav. And then again, chapter 2 does the same exact thing. It begins with an Aleph, and then a Bet, and then a Gimal. And the third chapter, again, Aleph, 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 Bet, Bet, Bet. Same thing, this time just 3. The fourth chapter, same thing, Aleph, Bet, Gimal. But something very interesting is that there are 2 letters that are not in order. Everything's in order except for the letter Ayin and Peh. After Samech, let's go to chapter 1 for a minute. After the Samech, the letter Samech is Sila Kol Abirai Samech. And then chapter 1 has Ayin. Al Ele Ani Bochia. Samech Ayin, beautiful. And then Pei. Peresa Tzion. So Samech Ayin Pei. It's in order. Then you jump to chapter 2. Samech Safeku. And then there's no Ayin. It's Pei. Patsu Alayich Pihem. And then Ayin. Asa Hashem Asher Zamam. So it's interesting that the alphabet, for some reason in chapter 2, was, maybe they made a mistake. Right? Obviously not. This is one of the books that were canonized in the Tanakh. So it's not a mistake. But what does it mean? Samech, and then we skip to Pei, and then we go back to Ayin. Why is Ayin and Pei not in order? Okay? And it's true for chapter 2 and 3 and 4. And the Gemara says, because these spies put their mouths before their eyes. The spies went to go report to the land of Israel, and we know that date that they came back with the negative report was Tisha B'Av. And when they came back and they said all their lies, that was Tisha B'Av, and the Jewish people cried, and Hashem decreed that night is going to be a night of crying forever and ever and ever. Well, the spies put their peh before their ayin. Usually you see and then you speak. But here the spies spoke before they saw. So the mouth, the letter peh, it's a play on word. The letter peh also means mouth. Comes before the letter ayin, which also means eye. But again, we have to understand, if that's true, first of all, what does that mean? It's not true. They didn't. They went, they saw, and then they came back. They didn't speak before they went. And if you're going to do it, then you should do it from chapter 1 and on. Why'd you skip chapter 1? Chapter 1 seems to be in order. Only from chapter 2 and on do we care to get it right based on what happened. But we speak about Sinat Chinam, and we know that the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed because of Sinat Chinam. It's the reason that we're still in Galut, is because of baseless hatred and jealousy and envy, and all these negative feelings between man and man. What's very interesting is that there's 2 times in the Torah that we have the kelalot, the curses, Perashat Bechukotai and Perashat Kitavo. And each one corresponds to one of the Beit HaMikdash, our rabbis say. The first Beit HaMikdash are the curses in Bechukotai, the second Beit HaMikdash are the curses in Kitavo. But if you look closely, you'll notice that the curses in Bechukotai are all in plural. Yeah? The Perashah is written in plural. So, as an example, where do we go? Here it is. Bechukotai is going to be right in the beginning. Ve'im lo tishme'uli, if you don't listen, ve'lo ta'asu, and you don't do, ve'im bechukotai tim'asu, and you despise my commandments, right? And the whole thing is, God says, I will do this to you. I don't even want to read it. It's so scary, right? God forbid, we don't, even the Chazan in Shul, he like whispers when he says all these curses, right? It's very bad stuff. It's all plural. You quickly jump to Perashat Kitavo, and over there, all the curses are in singular. Now, Rabbi say, because that was the crime in the second temple, every person lived alone. Everybody cared only about themselves. Nobody was interested in other people. They were alone in their world. So the language of the curse is going to be in Lashon Yachid, to individual. But what does it mean to chinam? To hate someone for nothing. You got to be out of your mind to hate someone for no reason. If you have a reason, no one just doesn't like. I don't know. Right? Hey, should we invite Joe to the party? I don't know. I don't like Joe. Oh, you don't like Joe? What happened? I don't know. I don't even know who he is. I just don't like him. Why don't you like him? Did he say something? No, I never met him. I don't know. I just don't like him. Do you not like the name? No, I love the name. My son's Joe. I don't like him. How do you not like somebody you don't even know? Nobody hates for no reason. Says Rabbi Bernstein something beautiful. If you're angry at somebody, if someone takes something that's yours, right? You're angry. Is it understandable? Yeah, it's understandable. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe really it's unjustified, right? Maybe it's right. Maybe it's not fair. Maybe you just calm down a bit, right? You could talk me out of it, but is it understandable? Yeah, it's understandable. Someone takes something that's mine, I get angry. You can understand that. You could try to talk me out of it, but you can understand that. If someone takes something that's yours, I'm not angry, right? Every day we see on the news, there's crime going on, right? There's theft going on. There's murder. When you see that someone stole something, are you so angry? You're not angry, right? What does it have to do with me? It's him and his luck, and hatzlacha, good luck to you, right? But what if someone takes something that's not mine, but I think it is? Let's say I think it's mine, but it's not really mine. I'm going to be angry. But that anger is unjustifiable. Sinat chinam, when we say baseless hatred, it's because we have a map of the world with us in the middle. And everything in the world is really ours. Those houses should be mine. That property should be mine. That building should be mine. That car should be mine. That family should be mine. That wife should be mine. That husband should be mine. Those friends should be mine. All of those likes on Instagram should be mine. Everything should be mine. Someone takes honor, take money. We resent them. Why? Because I should have been honored. That should have been my money. But we have a false map. You're not the center of the world. It's what we call delusional. But we think that everything revolves around us. Our rabbis say, "Hakin'ah, ta'ava ve'akavod motzi'in et ha'adam min ha'olam." Somebody with jealousy, somebody with ta'ava, temptation, someone with kavod, somebody that's honor hungry, with an ego. These things remove a person from the world. Now that can be understood on a very literal level. You look at the news, people that have jealousy, it eats them up alive. You can have a person that's very wealthy, and just look what happens when you start praising someone else to them. You see the anger. You see their eyes, right? You give a little bit of honor to someone else. A person that's tempted for drugs or for lust, it destroys them. So yes, literally, they remove you from the world. These three things. But maybe on a different level, says the Shla, that when a person has kin'ah, when a person is jealous, he's literally no longer seeing the world the way it really is. Right? What is jealousy? You see your friend, your neighbor have such a beautiful party, they have such a beautiful house, they have such beautiful things. And you're jealous because you're not seeing the real world, you're seeing a fake world. You checked out of the real world. In the real world, this guy's life is not as amazing as it looks. They have issues, they have sickness, God forbid. They have things. But when we're jealous, we don't see those things. When a person has a lust and they think it's okay, I can drink and I'll be able to wake up on Monday morning and be completely fine in work. And it won't, really interfere with my performance. I can do drugs and I won't be addicted. It'll be okay. I can satisfy my lust with this person and it's fine. I'm not going to get caught. It's not going to ruin my marriage. These people are not living in the real world, in reality. A person that's looking for kavod, they're starving for honor. They think everybody's praising them when really deep down everyone's laughing at them. Someone with hatred left the world. Someone that has sinah lives in his own world. He's literally yatsa min ha'olam. He doesn't live in the world the way it really is. He sees somebody whispering in shul, and he automatically thinks they got to be talking about me. You see somebody in the street, hey, how's it going? And they're a little bit upset. We get paranoid. Oh no, what did I do to them? Why are they angry at me? Who said they're angry at you? Who said it's something that you did? Why do we think we're the center of the world and people's problems? Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe someone else. No, it has to be me. Because if it wasn't me, then why in the world should anyone be bothered? I'm the only reason that people should have any good or bad feelings. It has to be completely up to me. When a person has kin'ah, ta'ava, kavod, they're the only ones in that world. They don't see the world the way it is. They created their own reality. Someone compliments you, you take it in a negative way. Oh yeah, thank you, right? And deep down you're like, oh, what does she want from me? Why is she complimenting me? She must have done, right? We're not living in the real world. We already checked out. The spies, in a way, had the same issue. The spies were sent to the land of Israel to check it out. They get there, they come back, and they say, Eretz ochelet yoshevehahi. It's a land that devours its inhabitants. Now, did they lie? They didn't lie. They saw a lot of deaths. Everywhere they went in the land of Israel, there were people burying their deceased. Right? Bring your dead, right? Anybody? No? Okay, fine. Bring your dead. Everyone was dying. But the truth is, if they thought about it a little bit, they would have realized that it's not true. It's not a land of disease. This is out of the ordinary. This is not the norm. And a very simple example, a very simple proof. If people were dying always, then how could there be such a high population? If people were dying always, then the funerals wouldn't have such a high attendance. Right? When something's a daily occurrence, then you stop going eventually. If there's so many funerals and people are so moved, in a time of pandemic, you're not so moved. You expect it. If there's plague, if there's death, then it's death. Everyone's dying. Must be. But you know what the problem is? The spies didn't live in the real world. They didn't see the truth. They didn't see the world the way it is. They saw the world the way they wanted to see it. Why? Because they had something blocking their vision. They had something blinding them. They had kavod in the way. They wanted honor. They knew that if they go into the land of Israel, they're going to lose their position. And so we better stay out here. And once a person has that kavod blinds them. And we don't really see reality. We see a fake world. And so the spies, they wanted to go and they wanted to make sure that whatever they saw, they're going to stay outside. So they kind of drew conclusions before they even went. Because they wanted to make sure whatever happens, this is the goal. This is the how, like in many times in the labs or in studies, they have a certain theory, and this theory has to be true. And so they'll change the facts, they'll change the studies to show how the theory is legitimate. Right? In the words of Einstein, if the facts don't fit the theory, change the facts. Right? That's what happened with the spies. So, yes, in a way, their pay came before their ayin. Their mouths came before their eyes. They decided to speak before they even saw the land. We know that the spies stayed in the desert. For how many years was their punishment? 40 years. Yom leshana, yom leshana. For every day that they were in the land, it was a year of punishment. And the question is, their sin wasn't touring the land. Their sin was speaking about the land. So if anything, you should let's calculate, let's time how long did they speak for, and make the punishment proportionate to that. They spoke for 20 minutes, punish them for 20 years. They spoke for 40 minutes, punish them for 4 years. I don't have a problem with the number 40. My problem is, why'd you pick the touring of the land of Israel as your indicator? You should look at the speech, because that's where the sin was, no? But our rabbis say, no. The sin was not talking. The sin came way before. The sin was the 40 days in Israel. You had 40 days to try to see the real land, to try to see the real Eretz Yisrael. And for 40 days, all you could see was the Eretz Yisrael that you created. The fake Israel that you created because of your drive, because of your temptation for ego, for honor. That blinded them. We come back to our Megillah. Very interesting, the first pasuk. Take a look if you have it. Echa yasheva badad, ha'ir rabbati am, hayeta ke'almana. Alas, lonely sits the city, once great with people. She that was great among nations is become like a widow. So beautiful, so poetic. The city that sits alone, once with great people, was great amongst nations, is now like a widow. But says the Bina Le'itim, that can mean something else. Echa yasheva badad. Look at it's unbelievable. Yasheva badad. She sits alone. Ha'ir rabati am. That city that's filled with people. You could have a situation that the city's filled with people. The population is 10 million. But everybody's alone. Hayitaka almana. Because everybody created their own world. Everyone lives in their own world. No one is really there. They were yatzam min ha'olam. They left the real Jerusalem. Everyone's living in their own life, in their own reality. We kind of have that today, no? With these little gadgets in our hands that we live in. This fake world, whether it's a game or social media or Netflix. We just live in that world. We don't really live. We could be with other people in a room. We could be with other people in a house. We could be with other people at a dinner table. You could have so many people present and yet no one's really there. Yasheva badad, we sit alone even though we're with so many people around us. And that is the sin of Adam HaRishon. Adam HaRishon was also given a paradise. And we know that God says to Adam, don't eat from the tree. And we wonder, what was wrong with eating from the tree? It's a good thing to eat from the tree, no? It's a da'at tov vara. It's a tree of good and evil. What's wrong with knowing between good and evil? But the answer is that before Adam ate, right was good and wrong was bad. Adam knew the difference between emet and sheker. It was true, it was false. He saw very clearly that following Torah is a good thing. Being honest is a good thing. Lying is a bad thing. Lying hurts you. Today, we don't necessarily see it like that. And that's a result of Adam eating. When Adam eats from the tree, now that he eats, the bad is no longer so visible. So lying, maybe it's unethical, maybe it's immoral, but it's good. Lying could get me places. Lying could get me a lot of money. Yeah? Right? Good could sometimes be not so beneficial for me. Bad could sometimes benefit me. Right? So maybe I won't do it because I want to hold to a higher moral code. But deep down, I think that it will help me if I do the wrong thing. That's a result of Adam HaRishon eating. If Adam didn't eat, it was very obvious. Just like it's very obvious to put your hand in fire is bad, it's very obvious that to do averot was bad. To do the wrong things was bad. It wasn't just wrong morally. It was wrong and it hurt you. But once Adam ate, everything got mixed up and he attained a false perception of reality. He became delusional. Of course, Adam HaRishon had all of these drives by the tree. Kina, ta'ava, kavod. The snake was jealous. The tree was ta'ava, it was good, it looked good to eat. And kavod, the snake tells Adam and Chava, you want to be like God? Why do you think he doesn't want you to eat? He doesn't want you to be a God like him. And the result is, what does God do to Adam? Beautiful. God kicks him out of paradise. The result of living in a fake world is galut. Because when you leave a place conceptually, then there is no real punishment when I kick you out. You've already left. So that's what it means when God says to Adam, Ayeka. Where are you? Which world do you live in? You don't live in my world. Because in my world, that tree was bad for you. But you've created this fake world for yourself that you think it's okay to eat from that tree that I told you not to. You must be in a different world. You're not in my world. Where are you? Ayeka. And so galut is an automatic result. The spies really could have fixed the sin of Adam HaRishon, get a correct appraisal of the land, of the relationship with Hashem. Realize that it's God sending you in. Go see the land, uritem et haaretz, mahi. That's what Moshe's words are to the spies. What does that mean, mahi? Go see the land the way it is. Remove your bias. Remove your glasses. Remove your curtain. Don't see it the way you want to see it. See it for how it really is. And the pasuk says, "V'hayamim yemei bikurei anavim." When the spies got there, the fruits were ripe. Who cares? Who cares how the fruits were? Really, does it matter? Why is pasuk telling this to me? Was it sunny, cloudy, rainy? What was the forecast like? Tell me, Rabbi. Please, Hashem. I would love to know what the forecast was for those 40 days. Who cares? Who cares that it was ripe season? The Baalei Musar say the conditions to fix Chet Adam HaRishon were ripe. But Kavod got in the way. And so the result is Galut. If you don't want to live you don't want to live in Eretz Yisrael, or you see it differently than how it is, then no problem. Then God kicking them out is not really a punishment anyways, because you won't even appreciate it when you get there. You won't even see it for what it really is. And so that's what the ayin after the pei represents. They decided to do what they wanted. They decided to see what they wanted. I guess you could say the tragedy of the spies is that they were sent to tour the land, but they never really got there. And so now the Midrash is beautiful and very clear. God says to Adam, Ayeka, where have you gone? Which planet are you on, not on mine? And the Jews as well have to wail Echa. What happened? What happened that we've lost focus? The Shema says, "V'lo taturu ahare levavchem ve'ahare nechem." Don't follow your heart and your eyes. Usually, one would think the eyes come first. You first see something and then you want to eat it. You see something and then you want to have it. The eyes see and the heart desires. But the Shema reminds us, no. First, the reality is we see what we want to see. It's not we want what we see, but we see what we want. And so when we have our heart in a certain place, when our heart is not guided by the Torah, when our heart instead is guided by our desires and our temptations, and they want certain things, then our eyes are going to automatically corrupt everything else. And so, Echa Yasheva Badad, this is the tragedy of Tisha B'Av. Right? And this is what God says to Adam, you're not in my world. And so if the Galut began in the mind, because that's where it all began, it began in us being delusional, then Geulah begins there as well. Then redemption must begin in the mind, in our individual minds, putting ourselves back into the world. When we're speaking to people, to actually listen to them, to actually hear what they're trying to tell us. Not what we want them to tell us, or not what sounds good for us, or not what's comfortable for us. Right? A lot of times we could be walking in to pray. We have our lives, we have our routine, we have things going on. And somebody's there, they need a word, they need a minute. I don't have time for your minute. Because your minute's not a real minute. It's not an important minute. My minute's the only one that counts. And so people could be talking to us, but we're not really listening. We're just trying to think about other things. We're elsewhere. We're not present. Geulah begins by being present, by being in the real world, not our world, but in the world of the Jewish nation, in the world of mankind. To try to see someone else's pain, to try to see someone else's dreams, to try to hear their concerns. Something interesting, on Tisha B'Av, we're not allowed to say hi. I don't know if you knew that. We don't give greetings. Doesn't mean that you should be a jerk. Right? You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be nasty either. But, we look down, we walk, we mind our own business. Maybe the reason is because throughout the year, we're always minding our own business. Throughout the year, we don't even really say hi to other people. And even if we do, it's a selfish hi. It's a hi that's really a please in disguise. Right? We need someone, so we say hi to them because we need something from them. And so throughout the year, we're always looking down. And so on Tisha B'Av, God says, okay, so I guess if that's how you want to live, then for one day, actually, as a punishment, then go ahead, be alone. Don't say hi. Be by yourself. That's a very powerful idea. And so, Tisha B'Av, we actually can't say it. And when you can't have something, then you say, you know what? Maybe this is not the world that I want to create. It's actually a little bit lonely not to say hi to anyone for a whole day. And maybe I haven't realized, but the whole year I've been doing that kind of. And I walk and I talk and I do and I smile, but I'm really in this selfish world. And so Tisha B'Av, we're in a way alone. You know what? I was thinking about something that I think is true. And this last year and a half, we've had these masks on our faces. Where we can't really see people's faces. Right? You could be looking at, you can't really see them. Maybe that's something to think about as well. Are we looking at other people? How concerned are we with what's going on in their lives? Maybe, just like Tisha B'Av, God punishes us and says, okay, if you want to be alone, then be alone. Don't say hi. So maybe something to think about after this year and a half. Maybe we're too alone. Maybe we're not focused enough on other people. Maybe we're too by ourselves. And so for a year, God put us by ourselves, where we couldn't see people's reactions, we couldn't be next to people. So again, these are, I think, very important points, very powerful ideas. As we enter Tisha B'Av, it's a day that we mourn the Beit HaMikdash. It's a day that we mourn the Meraglim, and it's a day that we remember how it all started. It started with Adam Harishon and his false perception of reality. He created a world for himself. He entered this fake world that didn't exist. And part of our tikkun, our first step towards the Beit HaMikdash, is re-entering the real world. When we come back into planet Earth, when we come back to the world the way it is, then God says, great, if you're here, then I'll be here. And we'll be zocheh to the Beit HaMikdash, Be'ezat Hashem, b'mehera b'yameinu, amen. We should have a meaningful fast, a day of inspiration. Either way, wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.